And for more on the policy speech, we are joined now by John Burns. He's an emeritus and honorary professor of the Department of Politics and Public Administration at the University of Hong Kong. Well, thanks, Professor, for joining us this evening. First up, I thought we'd just get an overview, your general assessment about this shift, basically, from a greater focus on security to that of jolting the economy, which is what Hong Kong needs. Do you think John Lee hit the mark?
Yes, I do. We have to remember, what is it that the people want? So when asked what they wanted to see in the policy address, they said that the policy address needed to focus on the economy, needed to focus on livelihood issues, and stay away from national security. That doesn't mean national security isn't mentioned right at the top, because national security is something that this government also has to focus on. So I think overall, yes, it did address these concerns.
Right. And when it comes to mortgage easing, by raising the loan to value ratio as well as the debt servicing ratio, I thought I'd get your insights into how do you think this is going to impact the housing market? I mean, is it going to help more people get onto the property ladder, or could it worsen existing issues such as affordability?
It will have both of those impacts, it seems to me. It will definitely make it easier for people to get mortgages, but it may also result in increased prices, and this is something that Hong Kong has to pay attention to. Actually, when it comes to housing, there are other issues besides the easing the mortgage restrictions that are very important here. One of these is focusing new regulations on the size of subdivided flats. This is one of the horror stories of Hong Kong. We have to realize that 220,000 people live in subdivided flats. And for the first time, the government is going to set minimum standards, such as they have to have a toilet and a window and 86,000 square feet. So this will have an impact on almost 250,000 people, 34,000 of whom are children. I think this is very significant. Also, the government, in terms of housing, wants to improve the ability, make it easier for those in public rental housing to buy their own home through a subsidized homeownership scheme flat. So housing is a big thing, and this policy address has some measures that I think will work well for Hong Kong. It won't solve all the problems, but it will work well.
Yeah, and it's certainly a big deal for the local population living in those, shoebox rooms and houses, which I want to move on to the other end of the property spectrum, though, where talking about investment incentives, because Mr. Lee mentioned about he wants to allow investments in residential properties worth over 50 million Hong Kong dollars to attract foreign investments, for instance. And what do you make of that?
I think that this will be attractive to people on the mainland who are looking to come to Hong Kong, have a foothold in Hong Kong, and maybe go further overseas from there. Whether it's going to be attractive to people other than the mainland, I'm less sure. I mean, the United States and Europe have been reluctant to invest in anything in Hong Kong recently. And so I think it's mainly targeted at mainland buyers or investors.
What about attracting foreign talent via the expanded Top Talent Pass scheme, drawing high-income talent back to Hong Kong, for instance? Your thoughts on that? Is that enough? And how is that going to implicate the local workers?
So I think this is aimed mainly at bringing talent in from the mainland. And so far, we've been told that it's been quite successful because it's been in operation for some time now. What kind of talent are we talking about? Because when we look at the central government's priorities for Hong Kong and the policy address, we see that innovation and technology are big items. And so we're looking at talented people who can help with this. And I think Hong Kong has a shortage in this area, a very clear shortage. And so this is welcome.
Yeah, we heard earlier from the Vox Pops that we got from Hong Kong that somebody was saying, if mainland China's economy doesn't improve, it means it's going to be tough for Hong Kong to see improvement as well. And do you think then there is a need for Hong Kong to further diversify its economy that they have so often relied much on the funds from mainland?
It is necessary to diversify. It depends what you mean by diversify. We have focused for so long on property and finance, and we have to diversify from that. But relying on talent from the mainland, I think that would help us to diversify in innovation and technology. If you look at the GBA, the Greater Bay Area as a whole, and Shenzhen and Hong Kong, you can see that innovation and tech, from the perspective of innovation and technology, Hong Kong and the GBA do relatively well. Hong Kong, however, is behind the game. And so this would be an effort to import talent and help, it seems to me.
All right, Professor, I've got time for just one more question. I want to talk about the lowering of the alcohol duty, where they want to slash the duty on these high-end liquor imports from 100% down to 10%. What exactly is the objective of that? Is it to attract more perhaps high-end tourism or trade?
Yes, I think it is to help the trade. That's what I've been told. Doctors are not too happy with this because they say it could impact our health. But actually, most alcohol, which isn't the high-end alcohol, won't be affected by this. So it will be the very expensive bottles of wine and whiskey and things like that, which should help the trade and should help attract some tourists.
All right, good to know. Thanks very much for your insights, John Burns Emeritus and Honorary Professor at the University of Hong Kong.